Before the stars and stripes waved over this land, before cities and highways and freedom were spoken of, there were nations, hundreds of them, the Lakota, Cherokee, Navajo, Apache, Sioux, and countless more. They had no borders, no kings, only the earth, the rivers, and the sky that bound them together. They lived with balance, not conquest. They took only what they needed. Their world was built on spirit, not on steel. But then, across the ocean, came ships. And with those ships came a storm no one could stop. When European explorers first set foot on American soil, they claimed they had discovered a new world. But this land was never lost. It had always been alive. To the native people, these strangers brought strange tools, clothes, and goods. At first, there was curiosity. There were exchanges of gifts, of food, of knowledge. But beneath that curiosity hid ambition and greed. The newcomers wanted land, and they believed God Himself had promised it to them. What began as trade soon turned into taking. Then came an invisible killer: smallpox, measles, influenza. Diseases that the Native Americans had never known, never had the chance to fight. Entire villages vanished. Children died in their mothers' arms. Tribes that had stood for centuries were wiped from the earth in a single winter. Before a single war was fought, over 90% of the native population was gone. Not from bullets, but from breath. And yet, even in grief, they endured. They believed the land would protect them, but the land itself was being taken. As settlers spread westward, treaties were signed, promises of peace, of shared lands. But every treaty was written in ink that would soon be washed away by blood. The more the settlers expanded, the smaller the native world became. Forests were cut, rivers dammed, buffalo hunted to extinction. Every hill that once carried a prayer was turned into property. Those who resisted were labeled savages. And to civilize them, America began its cruelest mission. In 1830, President Andrew Jackson signed the Indian Removal Act. It gave the U.S. government the power to force Native Americans from their ancestral lands, to make way for settlers. What followed was one of the darkest journeys in history. The Trail of Tears. 60,000 men, women, and children marched from the lush forests of the east to the dry plains of the west. They were promised safety, but on that march over 15,000 died from hunger, disease, and exhaustion. They called it a removal, but it was death on foot. Still, some tribes resisted. The Apache under Geronimo, the Sioux under Sitting Bull, the Lakota at Little Bighorn. They fought not to conquer, but to survive. But how do arrows stand against rifles? How do horses face cannons? The U.S. Army hunted them across plains and mountains, burning villages, taking children, destroying the old ways. By the late 1800s, the last of the free tribes were cornered, and in 1890, at Wounded Knee Creek, it ended. On a cold December morning, U.S. soldiers surrounded a Lakota camp. A shot was fired. No one knows by whom. Moments later, machine guns opened fire. More than 250 Native Americans, men, women, even infants, were killed. That was not a battle, it was a massacre, and it marked the final chapter of Native resistance. Those who survived were forced onto barren reservations, forbidden to speak their language, wear their clothes, or pray to their gods. Children were taken from their families, sent to boarding schools where their hair was cut, their names changed. They were told to forget who they were. Kill the Indian, save the man, they were told. But every attempt to erase them only made their spirit stronger. By 1900, of the tens of millions of Native Americans who once lived here, only 250,000 remained. Languages, gone. Cultures, broken. Land, stolen. America had risen, but on a foundation of silence. The textbook spoke of expansion, but the Native people called it by its true name, genocide. And yet the story did not end there. The Native people endured. Their blood runs through the rivers, their prayers through the wind. From the Navajo code talkers of World War II to the modern tribal activists fighting for land and climate, their strength never died. Today, their voices rise again, through art, through protest, through remembrance. They are not relics of the past. They are the heartbeat of a land that remembers.